With the Battle of Isstvan V over and the Loyalist forces scattered, the traitors had a clear advantage. But the galaxy was enormous with millions of stars. One giant traitor army could not possibly conquer or hold all of it. An expansion of influence was needed before an assault on Terra was possible. Without stable supply lines, secured flanks, and amassed experimental or xeno-weaponry, the Horus heresy would surely fail. None of this deterred the traitors, who were undaunted in their mission to take control of the galaxy. Welcome to our series on Warhammer 40k and the Horus heresy, explaining the origins of the Imperium and Chaos. In this 6th video in our history of the 40k universe, we will explore how Horus seized important parts of the galaxy leading up to the crucial Battle of Fall. And the present-day 40k universe needs just as much exploring as its history, which is where you come in with the sponsor of this video, Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader. At last, a fully fledged CRPG in the 40k universe has emerged. From the developers of Pathfinder, this game puts you at the head of a company of rogue traders, privateers sanctioned by the Emperor to act with special powers in their exploration and defense of distant frontiers. Gather a crew of special operators, be they human, space marine, or even tolerable Xenos, to aid in your battles against anyone that either stands in the way of mankind's empire or of your own growing business enterprise. Travel on your own personal void ship and take control of resource-rich planets to expand your power. Make impactful decisions to shape the fate of these regions, and use the special abilities of the elite team you build to eliminate the powerful threats that lurk on the edge of civilization, none more so of course than the forces of chaos. As well as the in-game companions you'll be gathering, bring real-life ones too, with up to 6-player online co-op. The game is out on Steam, PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series S and X, links in the description, so get out there and live in the Warhammer 40k world as only a rogue trader can. After 3 Loyalist legions were destroyed on the surface of Isstvan V, the traitors took the initiative. It would take time for the news of the Dropsite massacre to spread. Using this narrow time window, the traitors split up into dozens of smaller fleets to conquer as many unsuspecting planets as possible. With their forces so scattered, a counter-offensive from Terra would be deadly. The Loyalist fleet there would surely have to go through the Paramar star system, a major supply hub in that part of the galaxy. That crucial system was heavily fortified by the Mechanicum loyal to the Emperor, protecting Hive worlds and mining stations, but most importantly, the Forge world Paramar 5, which was full of military equipment and supplies. Horus decided to capture this planet as soon as possible, sending half of the Alpha Legion with extensive Dark Mechanicum support. The traitors exited the Immaterium outside the planetary ring and prepared a trap. All incoming ships were intercepted, and their crew were replaced with Alpha Legion infiltrators. 38 days after the Dropsite massacre, the Alpha Legion started their offensive. 5 traitor ships emerged from the warp, posing as loyalists, and requested supplies. Everything went according to plan, until a small fleet of Iron Warriors emerged from the warp. Even though they were part of the Traitor Legion, they had no clue about the ongoing civil war. For years they had been fighting Xenos, and after ending their mission, they had returned to Paramar to resupply. The Alpha Legion, seeing unexpected reinforcements, revealed too much through the Vox radio, blowing their cover. Subsequently, the Iron Warriors opened fire on the traitors and informed the planet about the incoming attack. The traitor fleet was shred to pieces, but all of the planetary and orbital defenses were turned off by the infiltrators. More Alpha Legion and Dark Mechanicum ships emerged from the star system's outer regions. The Iron Warriors' fleet was outmatched and started to avoid direct combat, taking the battle to the surface. The traitors shuttled 18,000 Alpha Legion Space Marines, 50 Titans, and thousands of tanks, hoping to overwhelm the defenders before the supply stores were exhausted. The Loyalists mustered 3,000 Iron Warriors, 25 Titans, armoured support, and several thousand cybernetically augmented Mechanicum infantry. Both sides deployed their Titans on a flat desert. The Titans, upon reaching firing distance, turned their surroundings into hellfire. None could hope to survive between these horrifying wonders of technology. Dust clouds from gunfire and collapsing machines covered the battlefield for hours. Alpha Legion launched a sneak attack through these clouds, capturing most of the spaceport. However, the Loyalists didn't sit idly during this attack. With armoured support, the Iron Warriors launched their own offensive, exhausting the traitor forces. 3 hours into the battle, the Iron Warriors, without any tanks left, decided to withdraw, as victory was deemed unattainable. 2 hours later, the battle ended in a traitor victory, although not as smooth as was planned. With Paramount 5 captured, the scattered traitor forces could continue their offensive. As their sphere of influence grew, so did the news of the Horus Heresy. Throughout the entire galaxy, few knew how to react. The majority of humanity remained loyal to the Emperor, while some pragmatic souls remembered that Horus was against taxation and sided with the traitors for that reason. Others saw Horus's rebellion as an opportunity to free themselves from the Empire and become independent nations. Many planets wished to remain neutral and not engage in any war, but their dreams were often shattered when armies from either side burned their world. With so many choices, the population of individual planets often couldn't agree with the decision of the planetary governor, which consequently sparked rebellions. This happened especially often when trade stopped on any given planet due to the raging war. Additionally, Xenos, seeing the weakness of the Imperium, started a counter-offensive against humanity on all possible fronts. The traitor fleets used this wavering stability to expand rapidly. In the hundreds of skirmishes that followed, another player arose, the Black Shields, space marines of the splinter fleets of the traitor legions. Each one consisted of less than 5,000 Astartes and had been too far away or too busy on other missions to be included in the major campaigns on Istvan. Now they were finding out that their brothers and Primarchs had betrayed the Emperor. Without the warrior lodges and months of convincing by agents of chaos, most of them decided to remain loyal to Terra. Unfortunately, due to their heraldry and sizes, it was impossible to discern them from traitor fleets, and they were attacked by the Loyalists. To end this friendly fire, their heraldry was scrapped, revealing the natural black colour of their armour, hence the name Black Shields. Unfortunately, this change was used against them when Horus ordered some of his fleets to imitate Black Shields in order to bypass Loyalist defences. After that incident, the Black Shields were fired upon from both sides, swaying some to swear loyalty to Horus and others to remain neutral or serve the Empire against invading Xenos. The few remaining Black Shields who were willing to aid Terra helped only as free agents, acting independently to turn the tides and leaving shortly thereafter. With the galaxy burning, billions dying daily, and the cults of the Chaos Gods expanding, the warp became unstable. The warp storms became an increasing issue, slowing or even blocking travel through the Immaterium for Loyalists. The traitors had been given passage through them, but it came at a cost. Instead of being lost in the warp, they directly interacted with pure chaos. Disciplined legions started to transform into hordes of bloodthirsty barbarians. Instead of conquering, they pillaged, sacrificing entire planets to the Chaos Gods. Key strongholds were left without any garrison, as all flocked to the next bloodbath. Even the Iron Warriors, who maintained discipline, started to resent one another, transforming their legion into selfish, achievement-hoarding individuals capable of killing their own to get the credit for victory. Soon, Psykers once again bolstered their ranks, and with them, demon possessions and mutations followed. The traitor Space Marine gene seed became so unstable that all new Space Marines were mutated from the beginning of their life. Even the Primarchs started changing. Some had their ideals warped, while others showed signs of madness. This degeneration led them to be seen as power-hungry tyrants, rather than the universally admired demigods they had once been. All of these factors combined lowered traitor combat effectiveness. After all, a war waged by emotions can't compete with cold calculations, and a mindless charge will always break on carefully laid out fortifications. The first battle affected by Chaos influence was the Battle of Phul. On the plains of Istvan V, one more Loyalist army remained, the Retribution Fleet of the Iron Fists. This army originally was composed of 561 ships, and while on the way to Istvan V was caught in a warp storm and severely damaged. A third of the fleet was destroyed in this tempest, leaving 363 operational vessels. To make matters worse, their commander had died. Additionally, the storm forced them to stay in the Phall system. The newly appointed commander, Alexis Pollux, thought that their predicament was a trap laid by Horus, and decided to drill his army in preparation for the incoming traitor forces. After almost half a year of drilling, his forces were perfectly ready for any incoming threat. When the traitors came in the form of the Iron Warriors, under the command of the Primarch Perturabo, they saw a spherical formation of loyalist ships there to greet them. The attacking fleet of 400 ships formed a cone, a 3D wedge, with the heaviest battleships and battle barges in the front. In the initial 4 minutes of the battle, over 70 loyalist ships were destroyed or severely damaged. Upon inflicting such heavy losses, and finding out that the fleet wasn't commanded by Sigismund, the Imperial Fist second in command, Perturabo lost interest in the battle and ordered his fleet to end it as fast as possible. The vanguard of the traitor fleet started to break formation, chasing deep into the sphere. Everything up to this point was part of the Loyalist defensive strategy. The Iron Warriors chased too deep and were attacked from below, above, and the sides. Every Loyalist ship knew how to proceed in this situation after extensive drilling. The sphere enveloped the wedge. The Loyalists started tearing apart the traitor formation after destroying the lone chasing heavy ships. Consequently, the outer layers were forced to leave formation, while being attacked from all sides, and if any ship showed even a hint of assuming leadership, it was immediately boarded. The only one capable of turning the tides was the Primarch Perturabo, but he wasn't watching the battle. His soldiers were scared to relay this information to him, for in his anger he would surely kill the messenger. Eventually, someone mustered the courage and died giving the message. But it was too late. The traitors had barely any reserves to turn the tides of battle. To make matters worse, their flagship was exposed, and a strike force of 50 ships was heading there to kill Perturabo. With the battle being one step away from being won by the Loyalists, the Chaos Gods intervened. Rogel Dawn had been sending messages for the Retribution fleet to return to Terra for months, but all of these messages were lost in the warp. The Chaos Gods allowed one of these messages to pierce the warp storm and opened a corridor inside the Immaterium to allow the Loyalists to escape from the battle. This was catastrophic. To leave the battle meant that most of the ships had to be left behind. Larger ships, those encircling the back of the traitors, and the strike fleet sent to kill Perturabo had no chance to escape a battle on the brink of being won. Yet their Primarch had given the order, so the Iron Fist started their costly retreat. With barely any cohesion, the Loyalists became easy prey. The only saving grace was the strike group. Instead of retreating, it attacked relentlessly, managing to board the Iron Warriors' flagship with 1,300 Space Marines. This overwhelming force breached all defense lines, reaching the Primarch. In the brutal melee combat, all Loyalists died, but not before killing all of Perturabo's personal guards. Less than 100 ships escaped from Phall, and half of them were scattered inside the warp storm. Even though this was a traitor victory, it was a Pyrrhic one, with the Iron Warriors swearing rivalry to the Iron Fists, hoping to settle the score in a fair engagement. Following the battle, Perturabo became so disappointed with his sons that he replaced his personal guard with robots that had been forbidden to use since the Dark Age of technology. Even though the traitors were achieving dozens of victories, many others were causing some negative backlash for the cause. One mission in particular had been too important for Horus to delegate to anyone. The Coronid Deeps region was full of forge worlds and mining worlds. If these 5-star sectors were captured by traitors, it would fuel their entire war effort. To that end, at the end of 006 M30, Horus took elements of 5 legions, the Sons of Horus, Iron Warriors, Death Guard, Alpha Legion, and Night Lords, to take control of this region. Their onslaught was heralded by a single message: "Bow before him who is the War Master. Abase yourself before this truth. Serve those who serve him. Hearken only to their words. The Imperium is his. Mankind is his. You are his. Submit to the War Master or die by his hand. There is no other choice. You will be given the chance to kneel but once. Horus is Lord. Horus is death." In the opening stage of what is now called the Manichaean War, Traitors were waiting on the edges of the Coronid Deeps, raising panic amongst the populace. Stories of destroyed patrols, strike groups, and solitary planets being conquered in a mere 9 hours all took their toll on public morale. Civilians started fleeing, only to discover drifting hulls filled with corpses of people who had had the same idea. Horus's message was true: die or serve him, there was no escape. Presented with that choice, worlds started rebelling. A defense force that consisted of hundreds of spaceships and 4 million solar auxilia, the best of normal humans in the army, was now forced to pacify rebellions while getting harassed by traitors. The first star sector to fall was the Cyclops cluster, when a Dark Mechanicum emissary swayed Maphandex, one of the 2 Forge worlds, to join the side of Horus. The other one, Mazoa, was blockaded and starved from all resources. To capture the rest of the planets in the Cyclops cluster, Horus sent the Death Guard, led by Mortarion. Their first 2 merciless attacks were preceded by virus bombardment. Entire planets, just like Isstvan III, were stripped of all living beings. This tactic of terror caused more worlds to surrender to Horus. By now, news had spread all around the sector, and reinforcements in the form of splinter Space Marine fleets arrived, one of which was Black Shield. While the battles in the Cyclops cluster were finishing, Alpha Legion infiltrated the capital sector of Manichaea and instigated additional rebellions of civilians and Mechanicum. Additionally, the traitors lured an Orc army to spread out the loyalists further. In the moment of absolute chaos, Horus descended with all the might of his forces, swiftly conquering the world of Manichaea and Port Moor, as well as obliterating the armada of the Imperial fleet. Having accomplished all these goals, Horus left with most of his forces, leaving less than 20,000 Space Marines to finish the defenders, a task they couldn't accomplish until 008 M30. Even though traitors took control over Coronid Deeps, it was considered a stalemate. Billions of potential workers died, not allowing them to unleash the full potential of production. Splinter Fleet harassment slowed it even harder, but most importantly, the Forge world Mazoa remained in the Loyalists' hands, although blockaded. With the galaxy consumed by war and billions dying, who would emerge victorious? The traitors had a clear advantage, as at this point they had lost only around 100,000 Astartes compared to the 400,000 on the Loyalist side. The future of the Imperium now depended on the separated Loyalist legions. In the next episode, we will explore their whereabouts. Our series on the Warhammer 40k Horus Heresy will continue, so make sure you are subscribed and have pressed the bell button to see it. Please consider liking, commenting and sharing, it helps immensely. Our videos would be impossible without our kind patrons and YouTube channel members, whose ranks you can join via the links in the description to know our schedule, get early access to our videos, access our Discord, and much more. This is the Wizards and Warriors channel, and we will catch you on the next one.